Hey, what's going on, AP people? We have Marbury versus Madison judicial review on the docket for you today. A very important court case that you need to understand, and it really helps lay the framework for every future court case. And we have John Marshall in here. Lots of key figures you need to be familiar with all this, so let's get going. To understand Marbury versus Madison, we have to go back to 1801 and the Judiciary Act of 1801, which was passed by Congress in early 1801 while John Adams is still president. This is actually the last couple months of Adams' administration. Keep in mind, it used to be that the president would be inaugurated on March 4th. So this is prior to March 4th when Thomas Jefferson comes in and John Adams is still president. Here's John Adams. And it increased the number of federal judges on many different levels of courts. As president, you notice from checks and balances, John Adams has the power to appoint the new judges. And some of these judges were called midnight judges because John Adams was literally the last couple days in office appointing these judges and staying up late writing out their papers to have them come into office. So some see this as a way for Federalists to remain in power. The election of 1800, many Federalists lost positions, obviously the presidency when Thomas Jefferson comes in, but also in Congress. So this last session of this old Congress creates this, and it's a way for the Federalists to keep power in the judicial branch. So we need to figure out, knowing that, who is Marbury and why is he suing this guy, Madison? Well, here's Marbury, and he was one of Adams's midnight judges. He never received his commission or papers from the Secretary of State. It was the job of the Secretary of State to deliver the papers. He never got them from Adams's Secretary of State. So it falls on Jefferson's Secretary of State, James Madison, to deliver Marbury's commission or his papers. But Madison says, absolutely not. I'm not giving him these papers. Marbury could not be a judge until he officially received his papers. So Marbury turns around and says, all right, you're not going to give me my papers? I'll sue you. So he takes him to court and it goes all the way to the Supreme Court. So the Supreme Court ruled that Marbury had a right to his commission. So is this a victory for Marbury? He's getting excited? Not quite. He's like, oh, too soon. He got excited too soon. So we're going to go back to the first Judiciary Act of 1789, which stated that the court could enforce the delivery of commissions. And this key word we're going to focus on here is enforce, because that is an executive branch thing. And the Supreme Court declared that part unconstitutional. They said, you know what? Marbury deserves his commission. He should have his commission, but it is unconstitutional for the Supreme Court to enforce the delivery of commissions. So essentially they're telling Marbury, we agree with you, but unfortunately there's not much we can do about it. So that's the background of it, but what we really want to focus on, what you need to be familiar with for your test, is the significance of the case. And this case established the principle of judicial review, and you need to know judicial review at all costs. It is the ability for the Supreme Court to be the sole interpreter of the Constitution, and it can also declare laws unconstitutional. So they can say this law goes against the Constitution. This law is no longer to be enforced or on the books. And from 1803, John Marshall says it is emphatically the province and duty of the judicial department to say what the law is. So from this moment forward, the Supreme Court can start to declare laws unconstitutional. You see, I have it underlined, circled. We got some fireworks stars, guys. Please make sure you know this. And this greatly expands the power of the Supreme Court, specifically, which is a part of the judicial branch. And this also helps to establish the judicial branch as an equal branch to the legislative and executive branches. We'll finish up with who is John Marshall. Well, he was the Chief Justice that presided over the case. Here's John Marshall, and he served for 34 years. And there's a lot of other court cases you need to know with John Marshall, but this is the big one that started it all. So some ideas to remember if you ever see any test questions about John Marshall. Well, he helped increase the power of the federal government, and we just saw how there by increasing the power of the Supreme Court. Some other future court decisions that his court makes is they helped promote business and the economy. And another theme you'll see under him is that the federal government became more powerful, and often it was at the expense of the state governments. And a very famous example of that is McCulloch versus Maryland. So if you want more info on his cases, I already have a video out called APUSH Review Key Court Cases under John Marshall. I would encourage you to check that out. You will see that on your test in some way, shape, or form, some of those court cases. Okay, I'm going to leave you with a question to ponder here. And the question is, how does judicial review affect the theory of nullification? If you don't know what nullification is, it is the belief that states can nullify or get rid of a federal law. So, how might this court case now affect that belief? I appreciate you guys watching. Thank you very much. Please take a moment and subscribe if you have not already. Help me spread the word. Throw us on Facebook, Twitter, Pinterest, anything you can think of. And, as John Marshall declared way back when, it would be unconstitutional not to subscribe to this channel. He actually said it. It's on the internet, so it must be true. Thanks for watching, guys. Hope that helped, and have a good day, guys.